Welcome everybody, and today I'm going to be taking you through my property viewing hit list, starting with sales history, area and location, parking and access, neighbours, structure and roof, storage facility, utilities and usability, damp and damage, garden, and future proofing. Welcome, guys. Hope everybody is doing well today. As I said, I am going to talk you through the property viewing hit list that I constructed with the able help of my better half. Quite simply, I said, right, if you're viewing a property, what do you want to know? And she said, well, here's a list of reasons. I said, brilliant. Some of those are good, some of those are crap. So then I went online, looked at another blog, did a bit of a cut and shut with that, and I've come up with this. So let me know what you think. First of all, sales history. Before you even get to the property, you want to be hitting up Zoopla, hitting up Rightmove, and finding out the sales history of the property. If the property has changed hands 5 times in the last 10 years, then you need to understand why. It sounds, in that instance, like there is a problem. Check out the sales history. If it was bought by a dear old lady in 1970 and it's his first sale since, then you can imagine when you go there that there's going to be certain things such as the electric and the heating and most likely the decor that need updating. Next one, area and location. So when you get there, check out what is to your left and to your right. Is there any litter on the floor? Is there any dog mess on the pavement? Is it clean? Are there any houses that are boarded up? Any windows that are smashed? Any telltale signs that this might not be a good area? Cars are another one. So if you're looking up and down the street and you've got some nice cars on it, not that that is everything, but it gives you a good indication of what sort of people live on the street. A little tip for you, have a look at the gardens. If people are taking care of their gardens, taking care of their properties, then they're showing a certain amount of diligence and respect for where they live. That is always a good sign. Next one, parking and access. If you're going to be using this property every single day, you're going to want to make sure that you can get in and out quite easily. Check for blind spots, any trees, any shrubbery that might be blocking your view. Is it a tight, narrow space? Are you in a block of flats? Have you got the worst parking space there? Is it easy access? Will it get knocked by car doors or people going in and out of the building if you're in flats? Or is it on street parking where it could get clipped? Your wing mirror could get clipped by passing cars. All things to consider. None of them immediately any danger, but all things to consider. Neighbours. Now, the neighbours can be brilliant. The places I've invested in Southeast Wales, you always get a story when you talk to the neighbours. You know, most of the properties that I buy are absolute rubbish to start with and a bit of a state. So there's always a pretty useful story there when you talk to the neighbours. They know who's had the property beforehand, what they were like, did they look after it, were there any loud parties, were they a nice couple that kept themselves to themselves. It's always worth talking, especially in a row of houses, speaking to the people next door, either side, and across the street as well. Definitely always speak to the neighbours. Next one, look at the structure, look at the roof. You don't have to be a surveyor to pick up missing tiles, guttering hanging off, or big cracks in the walls. All telltale signs that this property has not been looked after. So have a little check on the outside, just cast your eye over it on what the structure and the roof look like. Okay, storage and space. So you've gone inside the property now, you've walked in, you're having a look, the room sizes look great. You think, okay, this could be a goer. Don't do what I did. We bought a house, lovely house, love it to bits, cannot store anything anywhere. So make sure that that storage space is there, because trust me, if you're living in a property, you're going to want to store things somewhere. The last thing you need is a kitchen overrun or a spare bedroom that is suddenly being turned into the washing dumping ground. Utilities and usability. So when you go in, check the electrics, light switches, that everything works, run the taps, check that there's no problems there. Always check the boiler, see what state that's in. If it's an old boiler and you need to get it replaced, bear in mind that this will come at a cost of probably near £1,500 for a new boiler to be installed. Have a look at the utilities and the usability of them, because the last thing you want, as I've said with the other things, is getting into a property that you think is pucker and all of a sudden you've got leaks springing everywhere, you've got no water pressure, your boiler's packed up, and your electrics are 80 years old. Damp and damage. Now, you'll probably have a fairly good idea of what the state of the property is like from the pictures on Rightmove, but just in case the pictures have been doctored slightly or things tend to be brightened up a little bit more than you had hoped, have a look along the bottom of the walls on the property. Is there any damp? You can tell this. A telltale sign will be that the paint is beginning to bubble or flake onto the floor. There may be damp patches. If you've got a chimney, have a look in the corners of the chimney or down the side where the chimney meets the walls or the chimney meets the ceiling, just to make sure that there aren't any damp patches there either. Again, when you're looking at damage, have a look at the walls of the property, internal, external walls. There's not any big cracks, holes in the floor, that sort of thing. I mean, really, when it gets to that point, you sort of know if there was damage or not. The garden. So, making sure that your garden is in a state that you want it to be in. If it's got a fence, that's in a good state of repair. If it's got a wall, that's in a good state of repair. You might want to check on how much you're being overlooked by your neighbours. If you've got somebody who's backing right onto your garden and staring right at you when you're playing in your garden, or if you're sitting in the hot tub, then maybe that's not ideal. Have a look at the shrubbery in the garden. Are there any big trees? Are there any roots that have been cut off that may cause an issue with the foundations? Is there any Japanese knotweed in the garden? All of these things are quite interesting and often go overlooked. And finally, future proofing. If you go to a house and you think this is perfect, it's you and the missus or you and your boyfriend, and you've gone to view a property and you think this is perfect for us. Well, what happens in 12 months' time if you've got a sprog on the way, you've all of a sudden got a dog, 2 cats, and a llama in the garden? That house and that usability of that house is not going to be ideal. So if you're looking at a house that you want to stay for a long time, have a look at the potential for extension on either side or at the back, the size of the rooms, the amount of rooms, and planning for any other things that you think might crop up in the next 5 years. Because remember, just because you've bought a property and you might want to stay there for a couple of years and then, oh, don't worry, I'll sell it on. It's not always that easy, but always plan for the future. Hope that helps, and I hope you enjoyed the property viewing hit list. Please like and subscribe to my videos. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.